Iodo at your service. In today's video, I'll be telling you what I think of the Ruana Cloak. I don't know if you all saw my short video, but I'll link it. That was actually the first time I ever wore this cloak. Also, I don't know if it's pronounced Ruana or Ruana Cloak. I can't really tell from the way it's written. If any of you know, let me know in the comments as always. I'll be interested to find out. Now, the story began when I watched the video by Living Anachronism on the best cloak for a fantasy adventurer. And I found that video very interesting. The reason being, of all the different types of cloak he tried, the only one that I had never had and have never tried was the one that he rated as the best. And from that point onwards I knew that I had to make one and give it a go for a while. And now that I have, I can tell you guys what I think. Before I begin, my disclaimer is this. I've only had this cloak for a month, so I am definitely not an expert in how well it functions on the trail. I've never tried it in conditions apart from winter, and I haven't really been out in it in mega extreme weather, although the snow day was quite windy and cold. So I don't have nearly as much experience as Kramer over on Living Anachronism does, so watch his video to get probably a more reliable opinion about this cloak. And also, I did notice in the comments on his video, and possibly in one of the comments on one of my videos that was discussing this type of cloak, somebody asked about what it might look like made from a thicker, heavier tweed wool as opposed to the stretchier knit fabric that his is made out of. And so, for those of you who are wondering, I couldn't find the comment, so I can't say whose comment it was or anything like that. But this is what it looks like, made out of a thick, heavy Scottish tweed wool. So as always, in my videos about equipment for a fantasy adventurer, I'll start with advantages and disadvantages. Now again, because I haven't had this very long, the advantages and disadvantages are a bit sort of vague, because I've tried to find out what the advantages and disadvantages are over the past month, but I'm pretty sure other things would surface over time. So, I'll start with the advantages. Now I think the first and foremost advantage of this cloak is that you can wear it with a backpack. Now the reason that this works is because the cloak doesn't come far enough down your arms on both sides to actually trap your arms from movement once you've got the straps over your shoulders. So once the straps are over your shoulders, you can lift your arms up and it pulls the cloak through and then it stays loose. So you've got a full, reasonably easy range of movement. And it actually works really quite well. It works, honestly, an awful lot better than I thought it would work. And the backpack does actually double to be quite useful in preventing the cloak from slipping off, so you don't need to use a brooch or anything like that. So I was impressed. Well, am impressed. The only thing worth noting, now if I do a tutorial video on this cloak, and I did film the process but that is messy, unedited footage, is that when you make your Ruana cloak, if the width of the bits that come over your shoulders are too wide and it comes too far down your arm, then it will be a lot harder to move with the backpack on because it bunches up much more. Now, Kramer showed a photograph of the one that Gandalf had. You probably wouldn't be able to wear that with a backpack because I did try different patterns out of scrap fabric, and what I found was that they didn't work very well if this bit came down any further than sort of midway between your wrist and your elbow. But that's a debate for another day, I think. Now, just as you can wear a backpack with this cloak on, you can also wear a quiver with this cloak on. And wearing a quiver with a cloak is really cool and also arguably very useful. Mainly because most traditional types of cloak you can wear straight over the top of a backpack, and you can't really do that with a quiver because it would ruin your arrows and you can't get to your arrows. So quivers really are the only thing you would probably ever have on your back that you can't just wear a cloak over, so being able to wear them over your cloak, useful. Now the other thing that I've done, which I actually found is really, really handy, is that you can wear this as a tunic. So if you cross it over in front of you, so that there's not too much of a gap at your neck so that it doesn't let the draft in. And you fold it round in front of you. Now, I did learn this from Kramer's video. And then you put a belt round your waist. You've essentially created a tunic. And that works honestly brilliantly, because then you can wear other cloaks over the top. I've actually done this with my boxed end cloak, and it works remarkably well with the boxed end cloak in the rain, because the boxed end cloak is brilliant at shedding water, and this doesn't really give you the same level of protection as the boxed end cloak does from rain and wind and whatever, but it also, when it's belted round you like a tunic, it is really warm because it traps more air than a tunic does, because the sleeves or folds of the fabric are thicker. To be honest, it's a lot more like how you would wear a grey kilt, belted around you and then pulled up over your shoulders to form a jacket. So as far as disadvantages goes, I was pretty much only able to find two, and the first is that it gives you significantly less cover than cloaks like a boxed end cloak or a half circle cloak. Now, half circle cloak, that does actually depend on the design of the half circle cloak. This one, for example, which I was wearing with my witch garb, I've actually sewn little loops onto the side of this, which can then hook onto the crossover buttons. And if I do that, and then hook the other one onto the other side, then obviously I can't use my arms at all, but it's completely covering my body and protecting me from wind and rain. You can't really easily do that with a Ruana, but then a Ruana still lets you use your arms and wear a backpack, so trade-offs. However, as I've already said in the advantages, this disadvantage is kind of outweighed by the fact that you can wear it as a tunic, so you've got an extra layer of warmth and then wear another cloak over the top. Now, the other disadvantage of it is a bit sort of fuzzy, because I don't think it's personally a good idea to use a cloak as a blanket, because cloaks are going to get wet whilst you're walking and adventuring and whatever, and you really don't want to be relying on your outer garment, which is going to get soaked by the weather, to keep warm at night. However, it is potentially still handy if you're dry to have the extra layer of warmth from a cloak that can be used as a blanket, so it is a consideration. But a Ruana cloak is very hard to use as a blanket because it's got the slit down the middle. Now, it is possible that you could put buttons down the front so that you could close it up and then use it as a blanket at night. I haven't really investigated that, and the way I've done the borders on mine makes that very difficult, so I don't know. I might do some experiments one day. But yeah, not being able to use it easily as a big rectangle blanket like you can with something as big as a boxed end cloak or a rectangle cloak is potentially a disadvantage. Honestly, to sum this up for my conclusion, I'm going to say that I really do like this sort of cloak. It doesn't come without its disadvantages, but it also doesn't have nearly as many disadvantages as a lot of other types of cloaks, so it does quite well. Now, if you look up Ruana Cloak on the internet, it is possible to find examples of these which have a hood attached. So far I haven't tried that, I've only been using it with a mantle hood that's separate. But it's an interesting idea, and when I saw photographs, honestly I immediately thought Hobbit, because we know that hobbits are meant to wear cloaks, that's obvious, but the other trouble is that hobbits are also meant to wear backpacks. And backpacks don't play well with cloaks, so it's a bit of a difficult, tricky problem to solve. So unless you just wear the backpack under the cloak, which does keep your stuff dry, but it also looks strange, so again, trade-offs, then actually if a hobbit had a Ruana cloak which had a hood attached, then that would look really awesome. So for any of you who are portraying hobbit characters, do consider this option. Thanks so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next video. Okay, I've just looked back at the camera and I've just noticed that the whole video is overexposed, and I've corrected it about 20 seconds from the end. Never mind. Maybe I'll learn how to make videos properly one day. I'll do that again. Magic of video editing. Now, just as you can wear a backpack with this cloak on, you can also wear a quiver with... it's done that.